No, they said because they're rebuilding or enlarging,
Making the new stuff.
they need it, so it's like, to us. So now every time you go in there, I'll stop in the office and get a pencil. Make it pay. Pay for the subway. How long is this thing, about an hour?
I think. I was on one of those.
Yeah, me too.
And I only had this word again, so I don't know.
It should be, unless there's some kind of trauma. I don't think it'll be, hopefully not traumatic. We should look at this, I guess. I'm gonna look at what this is. Did you see the green stuff that he's seen? Did you look at that? This? Is there anything changing?
How are you?
Good to see you, good to see you.
How you doing, sir?
Good to see you, good to see you.
Another fun day.
Every day's a fun day here.
Tarwood is on, right?
No.
So I have nothing on the agenda.
Hash.
Hash.
How are you? How are you?
Hashed.
Spend some time with it if you want. The state allows kind of like an increase, so-called, but you have to do some justification for it. But along the way, they can ask for increases if it's justified.
Okay.
There's a process for that.
Because like this, there's three.
I don't want to blindside you. Can we separate them for a second?
I love. Look at your green stuff. I think that's add-on that we didn't have before.
Right. Ones that came. Yeah.
Did you already look at it?
I have not.
Very quickly.
Well, I don't know. I think my car died.
Oh, no. Well, at least it's in a parking lot, right?
Is it a camper?
It could be in a road, which wouldn't be good.
Where am I? Right here.
If it's a camper, you're good.
Where are you? Bob's right here.
Bob right here? He's gonna be right there.
Okay. Okay, who's gonna run the meeting? Okay. But I don't want to. I read it in it was in the email, right?
No, this is additional information.
Even more so, right?
Additional information is with address.
Better now.
We have people here today.
I found a now.
Yeah.
The ones that I don't have. Yeah, it's been really quiet. It's been really quiet today.
Yeah. I've got 3 more in there. You only had 2. I have 2. Well, one's a 2 more for a guy who's had a stroke.
Okay, there's something. Nobody's told me what happened to the emails, just that we don't have them.
I was told.
Get an LRP,
What?
get an LRP, limited rate receipt.
Still figuring out everything.
I guess so here.
They would turn off the whole
Good afternoon, everyone. And I'd like
No
to
batteries.
call the meeting to order of the Citrus County Water and Wastewater Authority. And we're going to open the meeting up with saying the Pledge of Allegiance. But before we do this, I started thinking about the Pledge of Allegiance, and I found myself doing it as a rote. Get up, say the words, and then we go on with business. We do it over and over again. We do it all the time. So I ran across, I did some research about the Pledge of Allegiance and the words, and I think it's appropriate today and about what we're about to do to give us some guidance. And I'd like to read this to you. I edited it and condensed it myself, so some of the words are my own, but most of it is from Robert Reinhardt from the Institute of Ethics and Leadership. The Pledge of Allegiance is pledged to the flag first and then to the Republic. We pledge to support and defend the Constitution, to recognize the power of citizens working together for a common good. We pledge ourselves to loyalty to the national ideals of freedom, justice, and equality. The Pledge of Allegiance is a vow to do better. What matters in the end is not just what we say, but what we do. Yet the words themselves matter because they affect what we do. They direct our attention toward a goal. They go to the heart of who we aspire to be on our best days. The challenge is not simply to say those words, but also to act upon them with humble sincerity. I say it because I am committed to making our country better. I see it as a promise to my fellow citizens. I'm with you. I care about who we are and where we're going. I pledge to do my best to work toward the simple yet lofty ideals of liberty and justice for all. Even though we may never fully achieve them, I pledge to work toward these goals together. With that in mind, I'd like us all to stand and say the Pledge of Allegiance. We've got two flags. We'll use this one here. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. So Cecilia, could I have a roll call, please?
We have to do oath of officer first before we do the roll call.
Oh, okay. Let's proceed with that. That's fine.
Mr. Charles Moore, can you please join me? Please raise your right hand and repeat after me. I state your name,
Charles Moore. I, Charles Moore,
do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
that I support,
that I support,
protect, and defend the Constitution and government of the United States
protect, and defend the Constitution
and government of the United States
of the government of the United States
and of the state of Florida
and
and of the state of Florida,
of the authority,
that I am duly qualified to hold office
that I am duly qualified to hold office
under the Constitution of the state,
under the Constitution of the state,
and that I will well and faithfully perform
and that I will well and faithfully perform
and accept the duties of a member
and accept the duty of member
of the Citrus County Water and Wastewater Authority,
of the Citrus County Water and Wastewater Authority,
of which I am now about to enter.
which I am about now to enter.
Thank you.
So Charles, welcome as our technical member to the board.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Congratulations.
Okay, now we'll proceed with a roll call then.
Yes, sir. Sorry. This is a regular meeting of the Water and Wastewater Authority, the 29th of January, 2024. In attendance are Chairman Bob Ruthmiller,
Present?
Vice Chairman Robert Haber,
Present.
Authority Charles Moore,
Present.
Authority Rick Matterson,
Present.
County Attorney Denise Diamond Lin,
Present.
Interim Executive Director Steve L. Howard,
Present.
and we have the quorum, sir.
Thank you, Cecilia. Okay, let's move to item A4, and that's the approval of the agenda. And I think I'll start out with asking Steve Howard if there are any additions or corrections.
There's just a few items here. Agenda item D3, this is just a response from our third-party consult, the staff assisted rate case for Citrus Waterworks. Also, there's another response, which is D3, part of D3, the Citrus Waterworks letter. And also in item D3 is amended final order 24-02. And that's all we have for updates.
Okay. These are the green sheets that were given to everyone, so it supersedes not all of it, but a good component of what was sent to you earlier. But the essence is all the same. It's merely some final corrections. So when we get to that portion, we'll go into more detail. So we're not going to go into it right now, but it's your green sheets, which are the main driving force. So I ask for a motion to approve the agenda for us to proceed with the agenda.
Motion made.
Can I have a second?
Second.
Any further discussion from anyone? No? Okay. And all in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Okay, motion carried.
Public comment.
Well, I said anyone could comment. Oh, you're going to B now, that's what you're going to, is that right? Or public comment on this motion?
We have to do motion, second, public comment, discussion, and then the voting.
Okay. I kind of combined the comments, but that's fine. Is there anyone in the public that would like to comment on that motion of change of the modifications to the agenda item D3? None. Okay. We're going to go to the next portion, which is open to the public. And because it's open to the public, I'd like to do a little preamble about a wonderful experience I had this past week in Tallahassee. I was in Tallahassee on the Citrus County Legislative Days. Steve Howard was there as well. And I saw a wonderful group of people, over 100 people from Citrus County, that you could tell they really wanted to have major contributions, and they wanted to really see success in moving forward with Citrus County. And every one of them had a sort of a spirit in them of getting things done. So what really culminated was there was a dinner on the Wednesday night, and our representative, Dr. Ralph Masulo, he gave a presentation. And towards the end of the presentation, he said, the best government is one where the people do the governing. And that really impressed me, because all the people in the room, the 100 people, had a spirit of getting things done. And so I thought it was a very interesting statement. Now, I'm not proposing an overhaul of the government structure, but rather that the government should adopt the same characteristics in many occasions as the private citizens and that of corporations. One of the most important characteristics of a successful person or entity is their inherent sense of urgency. It's this characteristic which moved us forward to achieve major accomplishments in a short period of time. Basically, that's what made the U.S. successful. It allows us to move quickly in time of need so that we continue to make progress without delays. In fact, it's one of the core principles of successful businesses and is the foundation of rapid achievements, an example for high-tech industry. Where would high-tech be today if they didn't have a sense of urgency? Amazing. Perhaps Ralph Masulo should have said, the best government is one where it adopts the same characteristics as the people, especially in time when there is a sense of urgency required. So with that, I'd kind of like to open it up to the public and hear your comments, not only about this board and our operation, but any other thoughts that you have at this point in time. So we're open to public comment.
Good afternoon, Mr. Chairman. Mine isn't as much about your comment as I was wondering if we're going to have some conversation on item F for upcoming meetings.
Yeah, that's part of the upcoming meetings. We're going to approve that toward the end of this today. The upcoming meetings is a schedule, yes.
Okay. And when you talk about your sense of urgency, I have a staff-assisted rate case that has been filed, and we tried to make this meeting, but because of logistics and some other things, we didn't get an opportunity to do that. So I was wondering if we might be able to have discussion on having a meeting before March 4th to hear that.
Well, why don't we discuss that when I get to that part where we look at the overall schedule of meetings, John? Would that be?
Yeah, that's fine. It just, a lot of times we don't allow the public to talk
Oh,
when you guys discuss your meetings.
we'll make sure you talk. I won't skip over
Okay,
at that
thank you.
point in time. Okay,
All
I
right, thank you.
promise. Okay, thank you, John. Anyone else would like to get up and say a few words?
Thanks for your time. My name is Bob Harlock. I own a home in Old Homosassa, down between McCrae's and the Freezer on a little canal there. It's 11172 West Yemassee Lane. And I purchased the property at the end of 2019 and moved on Friday the 13th, 2020, right before COVID. And so it was unusual start to the community. Everything had shut down immediately upon arriving there. Got some great neighbors. Got a beautiful little canal out back that I use to put my boat in. People kayak and so on. And in the past 4 years, I've noticed, I don't have any empirical data to prove it, but it seems to me that the water quality has gone down significantly in just 4 years. And I know it's an older area. My place is probably close to 50 years old. And I think there are a lot of deficient waste treatment on-site septic systems. And I'd like to learn more about the septic to sewer project. And I've made a lot of phone calls to Citrus County and can't seem to find anybody that can tell me anything about it. And none of my neighbors know what the status of it is. I know there's a sewer main that goes between the Freezer and McCrae's, and I think it goes down and serves the school. There's lift stations, so it's close by. And long-term, I would like to replace the old, it's a mobile home that I'm living in, and it's probably close to 50 years old, and I'd like to build on the property, but not until I know what's going on with the, potential for on-site sewer.
You're talking about an issue that is in the forefront of everyone. Would you say so, Steve? And there's a tremendous amount of attention, there's a tremendous amount of money and efforts by the county to resolve the water quality issues. As a matter of fact, when I said I was in Tallahassee, that was one of the main things. There's two main organizations in your area. One is the Save Crystal River Project or Association. Steve, you're going to jump in and help me in a second.
Yeah, I
here.
was going to say also the Homosassa.
And the
River Alliance.
Hamasosa Association.
Yeah.
Are you familiar with either one of those organizations?
I know the association, but I know that the Crystal River, what they have going on is Crystal River, and they don't seem to care about what goes on in Homosassa.
Well, that's not true, really, because I was side by side by both those people last week. And both of those organizations were making presentations to mainly the FDEP. That's where the funding comes from, most of the funding from the FDEP. But there's also a resiliency program going on as well which would affect the water levels, but not, I don't think the resiliency program would be septic to sewer, would it?
Yeah, no, and there's, we're currently doing a project in Homosassa now, currently, but we have the assistant county administrators here. We'll get your contact information, we'll make sure you get the latest updates of where we're at. A lot of this has, if you've been around me, I call it the F-bomb funding, so it is challenging the costs associated with those programs, and sometimes there's a long lag time. So we're waiting on, there's another pool of money we're waiting to get, but it's probably gonna be a year and a half or so out. But we can tell you exactly where we're at. We would love to do as many as we can, but it is very costly, that process, and it takes a while to do that. But we're more than happy to get you to the right folks, and we'll assure that you get a phone call back. So you came to the right place. Even though this body doesn't really take care of that issue, I'm here and my staff will ensure that you get a response.
The perception is in Homosassa, the people that I've talked to, is that with the funding, like even in the river cleanup project, is that Crystal River has soaked up all the funding, leaving not much left for Homosassa people to address what's going on in the river in Homosassa.
You actually, last year, I'll tell you, you did the most amount of funding you ever got, ever, millions of dollars for Homosassa. So you've last year, Homosassa did really good.
Well, communication must be
Yeah,
an issue.
I mean, it could be, but they did really well, and I think there's continued commitment, which I was glad to see. It seemed like to me last year was the largest amount they ever got. So there's a lot of other things that actually I'm presenting tonight. I have a whole sheet, actually, we could probably give it to you, of everything that happened in 2023 for Homosassa, which was pretty amazing. I wasn't here in I was 22 just a month or two, but there's definitely a lot of effort. And I think, like the chair had said, there's really unity in Tallahassee for both areas. Crystal Rivers was really the start. I think they were the start of really pioneering what they did with Save Crystal River, which became really what I'm told the model across the state. But I know there's a lot of interest in all over. But again, we're competing against a lot of folks. The 67 counties. Everybody's trying to get the ear of legislators, and that's why we were there, last week, trying to make sure their voice is heard. But we'll be more than happy to get you that information and kind of tell where we're at.
Thank you for your time.
I have a quick question. Where you live on Genesee Street, is your provider the old Homosassa, the Homosassa Special Water District?
Yes.
Or is it okay.
Yeah, they just put new water lines down our street last year,
That's all.
but they're unrelated to the septic to sewer project.
That's not a for-profit corporation, am I correct? That's
It's a special water
Yeah, I think it's a
district.
special
Yeah.
water district, yeah. So,
right, it wouldn't come under our purveyance.
That's right.
Yeah,
That's potable only, though.
yeah.
So is there a phase program? Is there a phase map that shows what the plan is?
We do. We have where we're at now. Like, so we'll get that to you.
Thank you.
And kind of show you. Actually, I think we're getting close to actually. I think some of it's actually on our website as we speak, but there'll be more dashboards and things like that, just showing what's coming next. I just got updated last week with a whole list of. Like I said, there's a lot of moving parts to this, to make this happen. Even we're working now on another area now, septic to sewer. Everything was going as planned, and all of a sudden they find a gopher tortoise. So as a result of that delays the process. So those things take time when you're working through those, but we'll be more than happy to get you that information, give you my contact information as well, and more than happy to communicate it to you.
Thanks again. Thanks for your time.
Thanks for the feedback.
Thanks for coming. Does anyone else have anything you'd like to bring up or make a presentation? If not, we'll go ahead and proceed. This is C1. This is the approval of the minutes. This is the minutes from the last meeting. I think you all have a copy of it. Does anyone on the board have questions or comments on the minutes? Okay. Then I'm going to ask for a motion to accept the minutes from November 6th.
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes from the 6th.
And second, please.
Second.
Okay. Charlie seconded. Okay. Any public comment on the minutes? You might have seen a copy. No? Okay. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, say nay. Motion passed. Minutes approved. We're going to go on to item D, and these are items that require action. And these are requests for rate changes. Excuse me, this is for, this is item D1. This is the
Terms.
acknowledging the expiration of the term of the prior board member, Jean McIntosh. Jean served us for 4 years, I think. Is it 4 years?
Yes.
Yeah. And so her term's expired. She did a good job attending the meetings, and we valued her presence and her participation. So is there any comments or questions about that with Janine? No?
That leaves us one opening to be filled, correct?
That leaves us
Yes,
two
Two.
openings.
Yeah, there's two.
One lay member and one alternate.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. So then with that, I'll have, if there's no public comment, I'm going to ask for a motion to accept the, what is this here? Expiration of Jeannie McIntosh.
I'll make that motion.
Okay, Robert, make the motion. Have a second, please.
Second.
Okay. And Richard made a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Now we're on item D2. This is for the Denellen Hills Water System, the Forest Hills Water System, Haggerty Point Water, La Prima Water, Lucky Hills Water, Meadowwood Water, Pinewood Water, Springhorn Water. And I think they're all of these under the auspices of Hash Utilities. I should just say Hash Utilities, shouldn't I? Okay. Let's get to that one here. I'm going to just, as we do this, I'm going to give a little bit of explanation, and I'm probably going to ask help from Mr. Howard to fill in the blanks. But since we have some new members here that are not quite familiar with all the aspects, we call this a limited rate proceeding. And a limited rate proceeding is based upon kind of a shortcut. You don't have to do a tremendous amount of justification for the rate. And the rate is based upon the maximum allowable rate increase for this fiscal year as set by the state of Florida, the Public Utilities Commission, is the PUC, is that the agency?
PSC,
Okay.
Public Service Commission.
So it's fairly simple and straightforward that on a timely basis, the individual companies, service providers, are allowed to apply for that rate or anything obviously below it, and it's a fairly quick and easy process. So this procedure is a limited rate proceeding. If you look through the different rates on the application, there are a number of different types of rates depending upon the size of the connection, which does two things. It allows a certain maximum flow rate or GPM based upon the size. The most common is a 3/4 inch. Larger meters and larger volumes usually have a higher rate based upon the demand. It puts a little bit more stress on the system because the higher flow pressures can drop, so there is a justification for a higher rate. There's also, when you have a new customer, there's usually a tap charge where they have to come in and perform a tap on an existing pipeline. And then also there's a meter charge for the meter. Now, I'm going to ask Mr. Howard, is there anything I missed in terms of what the process is and the different rates for a limited rate.
Limited rate proceeding is, limited rate proceeding is a proceeding that has less minimum filing requirements than normal one. It's to reduce cost to the customers. It's a fairly quicker turnaround time. This particular one, they wanted to recover the additional cost since the last time that they had adjusted their tariff sheets for the meter installation cost, because since then, meters, meter spuds, meter boxes, all these things have gone up in cost. So they've been eating the difference in cost. So they come back and change those costs in the tariff sheet. So it's a fairly quick process. In that packet, you can see the justification showing the new prices. You know, there's a list of the different prices of the parts. There's inflationary factor in there. And, you know, that's what they're asking for. They're also asking for a basically gallonage and other things, you know, that are all, you know, go along with it as costs go up. So, you know, that's basically what it is, just to change the tariff sheets for those costs.
I have a question.
Yes, Richard?
I was looking through this earlier, and I saw the three different price increases for hash utilities. One of them mentioned that it goes from $7.50 to $7.95, so doing my casual math, that's like a 6% increase. But the other two didn't mention where they came from, or their starting point was just what they wanted. Are they also around the same? I'm just curious to what the typical percentage increase is.
Do you recall that?
It's approximately, I don't have the figures in front of me because I don't have a packet.
Well,
But,
it doesn't show the starting point. Anyway.
can I see that?
Oh, we had the backup. So page 23, if you want to look at that, I think.
23. Wrong page.
It's about, once you put in the new cost, it's about 8 to 10%.
That's within the parameters.
Pardon?
That's within the parameters of what's allowed. Okay, that's what I want to make sure.
Thank you.
Okay, any other questions from the board? So we have Mr. and Mrs. Hash, Kim and Marshall Hash. So would you like to say a few words about this application?
This limited proceeding is simply to recover some of the costs. Yes, I see that the plumbers are charging 3 times as we do the work ourselves. We've always done the work ourselves. So we have seen the cost of meters go from $40 to almost $200 in the matter of 4 or 5 years since flu season started. Most of the brass stuff we touch now is lead-free, and the cost is extravagant. So this is a little bit of a step instead of a one big step. My understanding is most utilities are going to $1,500 for a meter install.
Wow.
Yes, so we took a little bit at a time. We don't have many new meters going in, so it's more of a cost recovery issue than it is a active, expense.
Are you have any radio reading meters, or are you still doing them manually? Manually,
We hand read them.
yeah.
That way you can see the leaks. Can't
Well, that's
see the leaks
true.
if the computer's
The
doing
radio
it.
doesn't- well, yeah, that's
That and
true.
the software's about 30 grand.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
our little systems can't afford that. or I can't, I'm too cheap. Yeah, we look at them every other month, so it gives us a chance to find the leaks.
Sure. Does the board have any questions for Mr. and Mrs. Hash?
I'm just wondering, because we were behind last year, this is something that should have been filed earlier last year, that, right?
Since last year got behind, should it have been filed
Yeah,
earlier
yeah,
last year?
yeah. It takes us a while.
So is it conceivable we'll see an earlier request this year? I mean, to catch you guys up, because I understand from the utility point of view that you're eating these costs. They always go up, never go down.
Yes, we probably want to adjust our tariff sheets again this year.
Oh, no, yeah, I got
Okay.
nothing coming up.
No, we have index,
The price index.
from the PSC, when that gets,
Yeah.
we'll have that.
Awesome.
All right.
Okay, thank you. Any further questions from the board? So if you take a look at page 12 of 111, you'll see the final order 24-01. Any questions on that? They have a motion to accept final order 24-01.
So moved.
Okay, Charles, so moved. Do we have a second?
Second.
Richard, second. Any further discussion from the public? Okay. All in favor of final order 24-01, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Okay. Okay, we're going to go on to item D3. This is Citrus Waterworks. Now, this is a staff-assisted rate case. This is a bit different. A staff-assisted rate case requires detailed calculations to justify any rate decreases. It's very extensive, and typically, it would include the services of an outside consultant, and we use Refelis to do a detailed analysis in conjunction with the information that the utility had supplied. So after that detailed analysis, then basically it's for justification for a rate increase. The other thing that's noteworthy is that when you have a staff-assisted rate case, it almost always would exceed the maximum allowable by the Public Service Commission. So that it's usually significantly more, but it has to be justified. So we have a gentleman that's with us from Refelis who performed the analysis, and there was a last minute change. Is that right, Roy?
Yeah, that's right.
So I'm going to ask Roy, would you like to stand up and explain what had happened recently for our board so they all are, you can do it there, you got a mic. Yeah.
Good afternoon. For the record, my name is Robert Ory. I'm with Raftelis Financial Consultants, and we were hired by the authority to do the calculations and analyses for the staff-assisted rate case. And the chairman's right. It's a very detailed calculation. We look at the operations maintenance expenses, rate base, or the planned investment used in non-used plant conditions and things of that nature, taxes other than income taxes, all the aspects that go into setting rates. And it's not set or limited to a price index type adjustment. It's really based on the cost to provide total service. In the analysis, originally, we looked at all those expense items, and there's a couple events that have occurred, and then I'll tell you the adjustment as well. The utility, water-only utility system, they had a extraordinary property event, I'll call it, where a pneumatic tank got destroyed by a tree hitting it, and they replaced the tank. That increases the plant investment, which increases the rate of return earned on that investment and whatnot. And that's one of the biggest adjustments to the reasons for the adjustment. That's probably 50, 60% of the adjustment right there. Also, costs have increased, O&M has increased, property taxes have increased, et cetera. And the initial recommendation was a 20.4% increase. Subsequent to that, the company provided additional information to us. There's two items. One was the property taxes. In reality, to be honest, I used the property taxes that were paid in December 22 was a December 23 test year, and that went up a couple $100 more. So I feel that should be adjusted. The more larger increase deals back with the property adjustment and the cost of insurance. They do have some insurance on the system, not property insurance, but more of a, I can't think of the word, but that wasn't built into the analysis. They had never reported insurance costs prior to this in their annual reports, but they showed me the invoice. It's clearly being paid by Citrus Waterworks company, and we recommend that probably should be added in as well. That's about $1,500. In their application, they were well over $2,000, and we reduced that to the invoiced amount for the fiscal year, for the calendar year. With those adjustments, the recommended rate that we think is fair and reasonable is a little over 24%. That'll raise the utility bill about $5, just slightly less than $6 a month, from $24 for the average customer using 4,300 gallons to $30.16, again, for the average residential customer using 4,300 gallons. That average was based on a review, just so you know. They have about a little over 150 customers there. That's their average for 12 months of billing history that they provided to me, and it's pretty reasonable statewide. Actually, it's a little low. Statewide, the average is probably closer to the 5 to 6 range if you looked at the state in total. So I felt that to be very reasonable, and that's what the rates are based on, and that's what we recommend in our staff assisted rate case.
Thank you, Robert. You did a very good job in doing the detail and analysis on this, and I know, Chuck, you reviewed it as well. And you didn't?
Oh.
You reviewed it. You didn't review it? Oh.
Yeah.
Oh, I thought you did. I'm sorry. You should have. It was good.
Well, thank you.
I took a look at the detail, because the company had to provide a tremendous amount of information.
Yes.
And that they've been operating at a loss.
Yeah.
Now, there's a fundamental mantra that the Water and Wastewater Authority is we have to make sure that we're fair both to the citizens. So we represent the citizens, but we also have to make sure that we're fair to the service providers or the utility companies. And that includes that they're profitable. Profit's a good thing as long as it's not in excess. Right. It translates to being a healthy company. If you have an unhealthy company that's not profitable, then really bad things could happen. For example, that their water quality might fall and be out of compliance, or they have an unreliable water service. I mean, there's a whole host of things that can happen if a company is running at a severe loss. So we want to make sure there's a good balance, that companies are healthy, but we're also fair to the customers, or we call them rate payers. That's one thing. Looking at the detailed information, we can drill down, and Robert, you saw this, but I also saw it, is that on page 30 of 111, go to page 30 of 111 for the board, and you'll see a breakdown of basically a P&L, part of a P&L, profit and loss. In 2022, the total amount that they paid to Duke Power was $3,900. And the next year, it went to $6,000. Huge jump in electric, huge jump. That's far and exceeded what even the escalation was from Duke Power. So I started thinking, well, how in the heck did that happen? Well, there is one device that can really consume your power, and that's your pumps. Mike, at the same time, this company had a tree fall and it did major damage to the bladder tank or pressure tank. That could have caused the pump to continually run to keep the pressure up. The bladder tank, what it does, it eliminates pumps short cycling. Tremendous amount of wear, and it decreases the life of the pump. So that was a flag right there when I saw that, but I don't know the exact reason for it. But we have to be cognizant of the fact that not only is it important for a company to keep its to be profitable, but they have to also keep all of their equipment in tip-top shape. So one of the justifications for this 20% or 24% increase is that they had to replace the bladder tank, didn't they? The
Yes,
pressure
that's
tank was
correct.
one of the things. They had a lot of main breaks and fixing leaks as well, which are kind of commonly expected.
Right.
But that was one thing. The other thing is that the insurance, they didn't have any entry for the insurance at all. That was another flag. So it's kind of nice to look at these types of things. But one of the things that's really important to do is to look at how does that company perform in terms of its monthly rate compared to other utilities in Citrus County. That's real important. Well, you did that, Robert.
I did.
And I think, if I can get to the page here.
Also, the cost of chemicals tripled.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
Chemicals.
Robert said the cost of chemicals tripled as well. And there was also some water that was unaccounted for, over 2,000 gallons, I think. So that all adds up. Now, the cost of chemicals going up might have been due to the inflation. But electricity didn't inflate that much. But I wanted to go find, you might want to help me to find this. I thought this was real interesting.
72 of 111, maybe?
Okay. Yes, 72 of page 111. If you look at this in the top part, we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 utilities within Citrus County. They're all private utilities. They all operate under the same type of customer base and types of operations. 6 of those, this is with the rate increase. Still, it's 30.16.
Yeah, yes, that's.
Yeah, it's slightly higher.
It's slightly higher now.
But
yeah.
if you look at the other ones, 6 of them have monthly rates higher than what Citrus Water Works is asking for.
Right. Currently.
So, at first you say, wow, a 24% increase, that's hefty and people will complain. But if you put it in perspective, there's only 2 of all the other utilities that are lower or equal to. So, in my mind, I think that it's reasonable what you've come up with and
Yes.
you're recommending, Robert.
Thank you. I think it's reasonable too.
So, with that, I'm going to open it up to the board for any comments or questions.
I agree with both Robert and Bob. Having been in the trenches myself, I know what these things cost, and just as Marshall was saying before, with the it was about 10 years ago, California put through those rules imposing pretty much that all lead be removed from the brass, and now that's coming and costing us money more. So there's a lot of increases for the water purveyor just to provide good, clean, quality water to the consumers.
Any other comments?
It does seem like Citrus County's rates are higher than others. For example, well, it's in Inverness is part of Citrus, but it's $20. Brooksville, $27.96. Aren't they part of
Yeah.
a different county?
I just stayed within Citrus County. I didn't go outside of it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, we're paying like 19 where I live in Hernando.
Just wondering from what you were saying earlier that there hasn't been considerable maintenance on infrastructure like the pipes and things. Is that something that needs to be looked at?
Well, first of all, they purchased this company 3 years ago, and they only purchased the asset. So we can't comment on the prior maintenance. But I will tell you that I was on the board of directors for the Floral City Water, and we had a lot of leaks on the major lines. And you know what it was from?
Age. Old pipes?
No. Overloaded waste disposal trucks, and another car's approaching, and they would drive off the road and they'd be so heavy, and that's where your main water lines are. And the continual weight on that water line, we have leaks all the time. You know, it's amazing. So there's a lot of other factors that cause leaks, and a lot of it is just traffic, you know. Does that answer your question?
Somewhat, yes.
Okay, if there's no further questions, can I have a motion to accept Final Order 24-02?
Chair?
Yes.
Chair,
Yes.
it's supposed to be approve the amended final order.
Sorry. It's the green sheet.
It's the green sheet.
I'm looking for the number on it again. It's the amended 2402.
Correct, sir.
Okay. Can I have someone to move? To accept the amendment, 2402?
Yeah.
We need a second?
Second.
Okay, Charles? Any final any comments at all from any of the persons attending? Public? If not, then all in favor say aye.
Aye.
And opposed, nay. Motion carried. Okay, we're going to go to item E now, and this is the outstanding authorities list of item 1, 2, and 3. What Cecilia does, she keeps a list of all the current issues and our progress on it. Some are requests from the board, others are items that are kind of a to-do list, and once they're completed, then we need to, this is her way of acknowledging that it's done and getting it off the to-do list. So if we take a look at the to-do list, and this is on page 99 of 111. In general, it was the Water and Wastewater Authority vacancy. This is a series of what's been done to transition members and filling members to fulfill seats that are out of term. So on 131, that's a deadline for taking applications. That's the next item to be done. Is that correct, Cecilia?
This item is just asking the chair to approve and authorize to remove the completed items listed as item number 1, dated August 14, 2023, October 10, 2023, November 10, 2023,
Yep.
and January 9, 2024, A and B. And then asking the chair to remove item number 2 and item number 3.
Yeah, my point is that another deadline coming up on 131 is the deadline for taking applications.
That is just for the alternate and the lay member.
Yes.
That'll remain on this list. I
Please?
said that'll remain on that list.
Yeah, it remains
Yeah.
on the
Yeah,
list.
correct.
Yeah. And also on 220 of 24, it's the date for nomination appointments by the BOCC.
That is a tentative date for the BOCC meeting.
So they remain on the list.
They will.
Okay, that's good. Now, item number 2, this was my request to attempt to streamline the process of getting rate applications approved. But it was also on the basis of that we were receiving the maximum allowable rate from the state of Florida. That was the whole basis for this, because we wanted to get the state to move faster. Now, several years ago, it in the middle of the fiscal year before the state gave us the minimum for that fiscal year. As a result, the companies couldn't even do a basic rate allowable increase until almost the fall. Now, at that time, Randy Oliver was here, and he was successful of getting the state to expedite that rate increase. I'm not sure when the rate increase, we're still waiting for the rate increase now, aren't we?
It is
has not
currently,
occurred.
it is currently posted, we're just waiting for the hard copy to be sent over to us.
Okay, so we're approaching February now.
Typically, they usually send it to me, send it to us, mid-February, early March. So once I received it, I will send it to the utilities, and then they can submit the process. But they can already viewed it on the FPSC website.
Okay, but I don't think we should take this off our list, because in my opinion, that is still unacceptable. So the companies that are present here, by the time we get it approved, and the next meeting we have scheduled in March, and if we approve it, what happens then? They have to wait 30 more days to advertise. It's gonna be well into the summer, but they're halfway through their fiscal year.
We get it on our PSC systems in
November. So I don't think we should take it off here. I think that we have a right to continue to highly suggest that the state move a little bit quicker. And that's not just for us, it's for all the other counties. Mr. Howard?
If they're getting from the PSC because they're PSC regulated utilities, couldn't the authority ask to be on that email list when they send it out in November to them, that we also receive it?
That's a solution, yeah. I mean, to be creative, let's try that. In my opinion, we should have the water rates ready to be approved and give our utility companies the ability to hit the ground running on January 1 of the beginning of the fiscal year, the new year.
Agreed. I agree.
Denise, you're smiling.
I just smile.
Mr. Chairman, can I just interject a little thing?
Sure.
That's not
Denise,
right.
doesn't the board have to approve that?
John,
Yes.
please step up to the mic, please.
That's the problem.
Doesn't the county commission have to approve that before it comes here?
I'd have to look it up, I don't.
I'm
Yes.
pretty sure that the county commission, once it's submitted, then it goes to the BOCC, and then it goes on their agenda, and then they get it approved, and then it comes here for a final approval. So there's some more steps other than just
You're right, there
going
is.
there. So I just want to make you aware of that that's another step you gotta do.
Chair? It doesn't go to the BOCC.
No, it does not.
It just need to be adopted by this board.
Okay.
So once I receive that by February, they can always apply right away. Unfortunately, it is posted, but I can't take action because I don't have the hard copy. I'm not sure if it's legal for me to
I'm
take
not
action
asking you to do
without the
that.
hard copy.
I'm saying the information from the state, the actual rate we should get that a lot earlier. That's very
It
simple.
is already posted, Chair. All I'm
It's
saying
still,
is,
it's still late, though. It's my point.
It's,
honestly.
as long as it's legal for me to take action without the hard copy, I'm willing to do the process.
Well, I'd like to ask Mr. Howard's opinion of this, because it's like, you've been doing this a long time. Am I incorrect in what I'm saying? I mean, do the companies deserve to have their rate increases within a reasonable time period, within the fiscal year?
If they wait, of course, they're gonna have a little bit of rate lag. But first, you'd have to, when you request to get a copy of that email, you'd have to find out, is that the truly valid number, or is that just an estimate? But they would probably tell you that, but you can request that information. And that way, if you've got that in an email from them, that adds some validity to it. But they would have to tell you for sure. Sound good?
yeah, I mean, your code says that you will adopt the the index by the Florida Public Service Commission that's published and approved. And until it's approved, you can't adopt it. I think that's what you're saying as
It's
well.
not completely
However,
valid, but if we have the information,
right, they can start the process, prepare their filing.
The documents,
Because,
yeah.
we're talking, they used to publish this in April, and now they're publishing in January, so they're right almost at the beginning of the year, so I think the PSC's hearing this, you're talking a month, but they could prepare, the utilities could prepare their index in advance, wait for your approval of the
And then submit the
index,
same
and
day.
submit the same day.
All right.
The other thing, another option, if I so could speak, is your code says you have to adopt this by May 15th, the index. You could also say, as soon as that is approved by the Florida Public Service Commission, you've automatically adopted it. Because you use the same rate they do. That's what your rules say. So you could expedite the approval process than having a formal meeting. That may be an option for you. But right now, you have till May 15th to approve the index for them, for the utilities to file, as I
you'd
understand.
have to change the code
Right,
with that language that instead of waiting until May 15th, you would adopt it in conjunction with it being published or,
Approved, right.
disseminated by Public Service Commission.
right. You get the order.
Denise, what's your opinion of this? Is this something that's achievable to change the code?
I haven't looked at the issue.
Okay.
Take two
Could I ask?
I'd have to look at the code and.
Okay, could I ask the three of you, Cecilia, and Mr. Howard, and Denise, to look at that, to come up with some type of a system where we can expedite this, please? So can we keep it on there, item number 2?
I'm happy to
can-
look at it to see if you can establish a
Yeah,
different
that's fine.
process.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Let me ask a question. In theory, when is the earliest we could probably get that if it was given BOCC approval before code was changed?
It doesn't go to BOCC. You guys need to approve
Oh, I
it.
thought it had to be approved by them before it came to us.
You do.
Adoption of the new price index is only
Yes.
goes to you guys. It doesn't go to BOCC. As far as I know, since I look on the PSC website, I should be receiving it next month. So once I received it, there's no problem. Like what Mr. Rob Ori said, they can start the process. And once we adopt it on the next meeting, they can file in conjunction with
Well,
that.
I guess that's what I was asking about, the next meeting. Could we, once it's here, adopted, could we call a special meeting for that month ahead of a regular?
That is the chairman's
Scheduled meeting?
discretion for the special meeting. He can always call for a special meeting. He just need to let me know.
Yeah, we can, but let's find the procedure to expedite it first. So if we could keep that on item number 2,
Sure.
and if we could come up with some concrete suggestion of how to proceed to expedite this, the whole process. Okay, thank you. Item number 3 is on page, I don't know,
100.
page 100. Oh, this is about, on 8/22 of 23, you announced 3 vacancies taking applications. On 9/22/23, there's a deadline. That was achieved. And then nomination for appointment, Robert Haber is here, Richard Matheson, and Charles Moore. We've achieved that. And then the oath of office. So those are all completed, so I don't see. So I have a motion to accept items number 1 and number 3 and continue with item number 2.
So moved.
Okay, Robert's gonna made the motion and Charles seconded it. Okay, any public discussion on this item? If not, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
And opposed, nay. Motion carried. Okay, item E2, this is for information only. basically, this is concerning that when a utility, the staff will send a letter to the various jurisdictions notifying them of the deadline for the annual report. And I think they have to then file it within 30 days after they receive, after the deadline, is that, or that is the deadline. There's also a clause about if there's a rate increase, you have 30 days to submit a financial report. This is for a rate increase. There's a report there as well. I saw that in some of the documentation.
In your report.
The annual report, yeah. And it lists all of the different water systems that that the authority is going to notify. So basically, this is a notification that you've got to get your report out.
This is just letting the board that I'm going to send a letter to the regulated utilities
Yep.
in regards to the annual financial report that is due 120 days, 120 days of the close of its fiscal year. I have 2 utilities already submitted, so I'm going to submit it to the rest of the utilities.
Okay.
Just to let them know that if they wanted a written request, it needed to be submitted to the Office of Utility on or before March 31st.
Okay.
And if they wanted to do a longer extension, they need to do a formal written request with the justification why they need more extension.
Okay, thank you. And this is for information only, no vote is required. Thank you, Cecilia.
Mr. Chair,
Yes.
I just thought about something. Rather than change the code, I believe the language says that they file it by May 15th, which means, is it by?
No, it says that they will approve the price index factor by May 15th.
By May 15th.
Not the
Okay, so
filing.
they'll approve it.
Yeah,
Okay.
that's what I was saying, if any way you could expedite that, they could then file whenever they want to.
The
Okay.
PSC has until March 31st of each year to set that, so that's by statute. So they're under no
Obligation.
obligation to establish it before March 31st.
They've been
So you
early,
could
but
lobby
you're
the
right.
legislature to change the law at the state level if you wanted them to get it done quicker.
So we're on, this is on F, item F. This has to do with the regular meetings, and you presented a schedule. The next scheduled meeting is on Monday, March 4th. And then after that, there's one on June 3rd. And then September 2nd, and then November 4th, there's a reorganization meeting. And then finally on December 2nd. So these are scheduled meetings.
That is the approved schedule meeting that you guys approved it. Chair?
Yes.
I think we have a pending public comment for the
Yes.
special meeting.
Yes.
Just want to remind you.
It was also suggested in the proceedings thus far that potentially calling a special meeting. I think, Robert, you mentioned that?
That was just for the
Yeah.
rate increases to
Yeah.
be more timely to help out the utility purveyor.
Yes. So I know there's some logistics here in terms of review, in terms of reserving the room, because there's a lot of meetings that the county has, and I think it's good to have organized. But I'd like also to be open, like you said, to call a special meeting, especially if it has to do with the operations, including a rate case, that instead of waiting up to 3 months. So I'd like to go ahead and open this up to the public to comment on holding a special meeting. John Thurmson?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Howard and I have had some conversation about this, so I mean, maybe you want to,
I was going to say, you talked about urgency. We actually were working on Saturday on this.
Yeah.
If that helps you. So you talk about
Yeah.
government officials working outside of the Monday through Friday. But there was a little more additional analysis that I had asked our consultant to look at on this case. So as a result of that, actually, I was going to suggest at some point, I was going to reach out to the chair and do a special call meeting on this. I think we're getting close to having that information, so I would strongly support a special call meeting as well. We can work with the chair on this and with the logistics and make sure we have a quorum. But I think that'll come through pretty quickly.
The only comment that I would have is if it doesn't happen by February 8th, then there's no sense of doing it, because if it's on the 9th, I have to have 20 days notification before I can even implement the rate. So if we had it February 8th, that would be the 9th I would be able to do it. There's 29 days in February, which means I could charge on the 1st of March. If not, then I'm waiting until April anyhow. So I don't want to inconvenience anybody, and if it's possible to do it then that's fine. If not, I'm okay with, whatever we come up with. But, we have been working, and the staff's been doing a good job trying to get this put through, but it's, it's money every time every day we go by, it's costs us money. So whatever you can do, I would really appreciate it.
Well, I do think that, can you justify a sense of urgency as to why you're asking this, perhaps, John? So I know rates are very important for continuous operation, and it can be pretty significant. But have you not asked for rates prior, or is it?
Well,
we
were here
before you.
We were here before you, I think in November or December, for limited proceeding on our meters, if you can remember that, when we increased our meters. We haven't been able to do a staff-assisted rate case in some time because we haven't had the ability to do that. Hasn't been anybody here to walk us through or give the utilities the opportunity to do that. So, we evaluated after this year, we're under earning. Swift Mud is looking, they're putting some pressure on us to do some meter upgrades because we're 25, 30 years old on our meters, so we're implementing a meter replacement program there. We're going to try and do 25 or 30 every year for the next 3 years, so you're going to see that in the staff-assisted rate case. Our insurance has gone up, our chemicals have gone up. So, yeah, and I think I'm not looking at it, but it's, what is it, about 11% maybe increase? What's the increase? I don't remember now.
Around 12 or something in there.
Yeah, I don't remember now, but it's just standard, we're just operating and we're not making.
Have you seen the documents?
Yes.
You've seen them?
Yeah.
Have you reviewed them?
Yes.
Have you commented on them?
Yes.
So you're basically saying you're ready to go?
We're ready to go with the exception
right?
with a few things just procedural things that we're looking at trying to do to make it, so when you guys get it, you understand it better. You got a document from these gentlemen here that is probably a little more detailed than what we provided or Mr. Howard provided, and I think that's what they're trying to do is make it a little more detailed, that's all.
So what, Mr. Howard?
Other things that are under consideration, there's 2 employees with the utility, Mr. Thompson and his son. Their service availability, they flush a lot of water to maintain chlorine. So 2.6 pumped, 1.9 sold. So there's a loss there. Efficiency, as it grows, as they change things out, efficiency, has to be looked at. So they're looking at contracting some things to increase the efficiency of the utility and improve the service to the customers, and to make the operation of the utility better. So, and that's all the assumptions and a lot of the comments that I put into the analysis. So
basically, you're saying you're basically ready to go, or is it?
There's a few things that...
From my standpoint and from my consultant standpoint, we've provided everything that we were asked. So this is an internal situation between your staff of where we're at. I mean, I'm assuming. I mean, that's what I've been told. And what they're doing is not have anything to do with me. I mean, if they ask us for things, we'll provide it.
So does any board member have any objection if we have a special meeting prior to or on February 8th?
I have no objection.
No objection, Richard?
I
no
don't know
objection?
that I would call it a special meeting. It's not a special meeting. A special
Yes.
meeting, you have to have a certain purpose for the meeting. This sounds like it's just an additional meeting.
Okay, I'll phrase it as an additional meeting, okay.
Yeah,
I mean, there's different
okay.
implications
Yeah.
involved if you call it a special meeting.
Okay, so
Yeah,
it's an additional
thank you.
meeting, okay,
Yeah,
thank you.
I think
Denise.
there's
Thank you, Denise.
advertising rules or something like that, and,
Just,
you know.
just laws.
yeah. No. We certainly want to make sure that we make everything right, and we're not getting it over ahead of ourselves, because at the end of the day, it's 30 days, and if we have to wait the 30 days, we will, to make sure everything is done properly.
Charles?
So if I'm hearing correctly, everything is in place and ready to go, or are there still some pieces?
Yeah, I think, I don't think it's 100% there yet, but we're close. I think we gotta have another discussion. On Saturday, there were some updates to the report, which I was asking for consistency, because my concern was you're looking at, you've got two consultants, not that they have to be the same, but for consistency, there were some things I would requested that Mr. Howard, no relation to this Howard, to have that in that same report, so you could look at that as well. So I did want to add that as a result of that. There was one more additional item, which I think is small. I'm going to get our staff together, hopefully today or early tomorrow, but I think we're at a good place now. Yeah.
Okay, so I'm going to ask for a motion to explore every option and come up with a suggested date, if the county is ready, on or before February 8th, an additional meeting on
Fair enough.
February 8th.
Yeah, that's fine.
That gives you,
If- yeah.
gives you 7 business days to choose from.
Okay.
And during that time period, we have a Board of County Commission meeting on Tuesday the
Tuesday.
6th, so that wouldn't be available. So you've got 6 days to choose from. You might want to
Okay.
consider, seeing if you can coordinate a quorum of your members
Yeah.
in
Yeah.
those 6 days.
We'll
Okay.
work
So
on
we
that.
can do that by email, Cecilia, see for quorum?
For the record, I'm available every one of those days.
Yeah.
And one of the other delays we had was our email system went out here today. So that was another challenge
Yeah.
with trying to get documents around.
Okay.
Because I had a document on Saturday, but I couldn't get it, so there was some
Okay,
of that
well,
going
let's
on
just,
too.
we understand there's some logistical problems,
Yeah,
availability as well.
If you can, it would greatly be appreciated. If not, I certainly understand.
Okay, well, let's make every effort then, so.
Thank you very much.
Could you repeat the motion?
Making every effort to have an additional meeting on or before February 8th.
I'll make that motion.
You have a second?
Second.
Okay, Charles? Any public discussion, any future discussion? No? Okay, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Nay? Okay. I didn't say nay. I just said, say nay. Well, with that, I think we are at the end of our meeting, a little bit over 1 hour. I thank everyone for coming, and I really enjoy, we all appreciate your contributions and your participation. This is probably one of the largest crowds we've seen in a long time. It's very good. Thank you very much for coming. Meeting is adjourned.